Welcome back to Kings of the North. Doug Lesmerises, Bill Landis will be along shortly. Happy National Signing Day. Man, when this used to be in February, it really was like a holiday, right? Because when it's like the first Wednesday in February, you're looking for a holiday, right? So now here we are in December, on the first Wednesday in December, and it's so crowded, it's not quite the same, but we know there's still a lot of people out there who justifiably love recruiting. And so we did a big preview yesterday on what it means to the North. There's obviously stuff popping today. We'll cover that a little bit, but recruiting still really matters. It's still really fun. I've always contended that people who are sports fans really like the future more than they like the present. It's why the NFL draft is such a big deal. It's why you'll be talking about Major League Baseball free agency during the World Series, because no matter how good you are, you're always looking to get better, and movement is interesting. Status quo is not that interesting. And I think sports fans at times can get bored with the season while it's happening. So recruiting is awesome. It'd be nice to get this day away from conference championship week, from playoff discussions, right, where recruiting could have a little more of a home of its own. But here we are. It is what it is. So we are going to touch on some things that are happening here today, but we're mostly going to preview this stuff, start previewing these games that really matter this weekend. Today, previews: SEC championship game, Texas, Georgia; ACC championship game, Clemson, SMU. None of those are our teams, so those previews are shorter. But Landis and I are really digging in on Arizona State and our team, Iowa State. Big game breakdown on the Big 12 for that. Do want to acknowledge this. Nate Marshall, who we talked about on the show on Tuesday as a defensive lineman from Illinois that Michigan had, and he had decommitted and had flipped to Auburn a while ago. He then, after the show on Tuesday, flipped back to Michigan. So that's a top 100 player that Michigan got back. That's a great job by the Wolverines. We were talking about keeping the best North guys North. That's an example of that. Don't let Auburn, stinky Auburn, come in and woo guys with money when the North has better football and should be able to compete from a financial standpoint. So Nate Marshall signing with Michigan is a huge deal. I do want to talk about the playoff rankings a little bit. And I would just like maybe college football for a moment to be appreciative of what is happening before automatically making a change, taking the change for granted, and complaining about it, which is what college football does very well. I'm old enough that I started covering the sport when there were only 11 regular season games. And then they switched to 12 regular season games and started spending the extra money they were making and taking for granted like this extra opportunity immediately. There's like no realization of like, oh, you know what? There's a lot of good things that are happening here. Fans get another game, and it might be harder on players' bodies, but we're going to make an extra $4 or $5 million per home game. It immediately it's new and it's assumed. So this 12-team college football playoff, everybody's complaining. Now up here, we don't have to complain because in the North, man, we're good. We're good. We got our 4 Big Ten teams: Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana. We got Notre Dame, and we have Boise State and Iowa State with chances to play their way into the playoff. So we don't have to fight as much, but there are people fighting. And so on Twitter, the ones that I've seen at least, Iowa State AD Jamie Pollard, who's really good at running that department, but I think the Big 12 is aggravated at not being respected more. And this is a conversation about whether the Big 12 champ should get the last bye compared to Boise State as a potential Mountain West champ. Again, I think people understand this. 4 conference champs get byes. It doesn't have to be the 4 power conference champs. So the Big 12 champ will get in, but they might not get a bye because Boise State might steal their bye. Little aggravated, Jamie Pollard was, about, I think, the lack of respect for the Big 12 in terms of seeding. So he went after SMU's strength of schedule and kind of also Indiana's strength of schedule. And then the SMU AD responded to him on Twitter. So they were fighting. And then Miami posted a thing about like their number of wins. They're 10-2, and they're in the mix for a playoff spot, maybe with these 9-3 SEC teams. And then Lane Kiffin, the Ole Miss coach, responded to that and complained about that. when actually neither Miami nor Ole Miss are getting in. So they're fighting over literally nothing. And Lane Kiffin's mad when if he wants to be mad, he should be mad at Alabama because Alabama's going to get that last spot probably. Here's the thing. If we were still in a 4-team playoff era, this is what we would be staring at right now, based off the college football playoff rankings released on Tuesday night that had Oregon 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame 4, and Georgia 5. Okay, like I guess if you want to say this is better, I don't know what to tell you. I disagree. But what we would have is number 1 Oregon and number 3 Penn State playing for a spot. So obviously that would add something to the Big Ten championship game. It would. It'd be a win and you're in, losing you might be out. 1 and 3 playing for a spot. We'd have number 2 Texas and number 5 Georgia playing for a spot. Win and you're in. Notre Dame would be in. Notre Dame's number 4 right now. They're not playing this weekend. They're not in a conference. They'd be in, and we'd be having a huge fight about whether Notre Dame, which has this Northern Illinois loss, but has been taking care of business since, but doesn't play in a conference championship game, should they be in? But I think they'd definitely be in. So we'd have 3 teams in, the SEC champ, the Big Ten champ, and Notre Dame. And then for the 4th and final spot, we would wind up debating the Big Ten loser, the SEC loser, and maybe SMU as the ACC champ. SMU is currently number 8. And then if the Big Ten loser is Penn State, Ohio State might be saying, well, we have 2 losses, but we beat Penn State. We should be in the mix for the 4th spot. But there would be consternation and confusion and no clear choice for the 4th spot. The Big 12 would be completely out of the discussion. The ACC would be assured of nothing. And this Ole Miss, Miami, Alabama fight would be nothing. So all this fighting, the Big 12, if the Big 12 is mad about not being respected, they're going to get a playoff spot, which they wouldn't have in the old system. If the ACC is mad about Miami not getting in or they're not going to get 2, they're going to get a team in the playoff, which last year their champ as an undefeated team, Florida State, didn't get in. And to be having this vitriolic discussion about 9 and 3 teams, you'd be an afterthought. So can we take a second and appreciate the opportunities that are here? Maybe you want more, but everybody has so much more. And some people are saying, oh, well, you're just allowing teams like Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia, if it loses the SEC championship game, you're allowing those teams playoff opportunities they wouldn't otherwise have. But the bottom line is opportunity. So I think it's great that the Big 12 is having a win and you're in championship game. That would be an afterthought in every other year except now. So we don't have to yell, but can we have a little appreciation for the 12-team playoff? I think this is much better. But the thing is, the yelling never stops. Right now, we're yelling about 11 and 12. The previous 10 years, we were yelling about number 5. In the BCS era, we were yelling about number 3. We were leaving undefeated. In both the 14 playoff era and the BCS era, we left out undefeated power conference teams. That would never happen now. So we're still yelling because we have 68 power conference teams for 12 spots. We have 68 power conference teams. That's more than double what the NFL has. And we have 134 overall that are competing in FBS that theoretically have a shot at the 12-team playoff. That's 4 times the amount of the NFL. There's going to be shouting. But at least we're shouting about teams that made their own bed. If you're not in, you blew it. Honestly, at this point, and this is why the Indiana discussion made me mad, because it's like you're 11 and 1, you lose on the road to a top 5 team at the time, Ohio State, and you're out. Like, man, that is not much wiggle room. The way it stands now, knowing that Indiana is going to be in, everybody had their chance. Everybody had their chance. And I would just rather be shouting about 9 and 3 than shouting about 13 and 0, like we were a year ago. So we can scooch. This much appreciation for the new world before the screaming starts. Michigan fired its offensive coordinator, Kirk Campbell. That was a bold, decisive, necessary move by Sharon Moore on Tuesday. It's one of those things like you assumed, you understand when there's transition, when there's been success at a program, and you want to keep things going for a little bit, and you want to hire from within. But I think you don't. I get the instinct to hire from within. Okay. I do get that instinct, especially for first-time coaches. But what you don't get a mulligan on is if it's proven to be bad and you stick with it. So that's where it's not tolerable. So I am appreciative of the fact that Sherrone Moore didn't wait. And there will be good people who want that job. There will be good people who want to work at the University of Michigan, who want to coach Jaden Davis and freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood. We've seen it enough with former head coaches taking coordinator jobs, whether it was Chip Kelly going from UCLA head coach to Ohio State offensive coordinator, Dana Holgorsen, one-time West Virginia and Houston head coach, now sliding in as the Nebraska offensive coordinator. Gus Malzahn is leaving Central Florida as the head coach to be the Florida State offensive coordinator. I certainly think that's possible, something like that. And two names that I think have popped up are Jason Candle, the Toledo head coach, former guest on Kings of the North, and Joe Moorhead, the Akron head coach, former offensive coordinator, also Mississippi State head coach, former offensive coordinator at Penn State and Oregon. For instance, I think those would be two very interesting names for that. And you could see how maybe that would be of interest both to Michigan and to those guys, but they'll get somebody good. And they'll get somebody more qualified for the job than Kirk Campbell was. So as a one-year move, you get it. It was wrong. And Sherrone Moore rectified it. So credit to him for that. So Sherrone Moore is on a roll here after a lot of questions this year. The fact that the last three big things Sherrone Moore has done are get Bryce Underwood in the fold one way or another, beat Ohio State, and make a decisive move on your offensive coordinator is kudos all around. All right. We'll get into a little more recruiting stuff later. We're going to do Whatcha Watching, Whatcha Eating later. And thinking. What are you thinking about? I have a thing to think about. I'm going to give you a hint. That's the hint about what I'm thinking about. But for now, we're going to start diving in to three of the games. We'll do other previews on Thursday, including the Big Ten championship game, the MAC championship game, the Mountain West championship game. But right now, Landis and I, starting with the SEC championship game, breakdown and preview on Kings of the North. All right, Landis, SEC championship game. We have to do this, right? We're professional college football YouTube podcasters. We have to do this.
I think we need to talk about it a little bit. Yeah. We have to. You can put your hat on if you want. It's okay.
I don't know. Do I?
Yeah.
I can't. So I do think obviously Texas. Texas is still not fully SEC, right? So they're more palatable than the Dogs. There's no horn mentality, is there? Although they get mad if you do an upside down thing, which I think is silly. But horn mentality. We'll see how they evolve in the SEC. We could get to horn mentality on this show, possibly. What if you do it sideways? Do they get mad if you do it sideways? It's like,
I think if you wiggle your fingers like that, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, you made our sign upside down. We're gonna fight you. 4 p.m. Eastern. Texas is favored by 2.5. They lost to Georgia before. And when I was digging through this stuff, it's I don't know. Are either of these teams good?
I was looking at it. I was like, both these offenses might be bad. At least they were bad when they played each other.
So one thing that really matters is that Kelvin Banks, the great left tackle for Texas, got hurt in the Texas A&M game. He may or may not play. That seems like kind of a big deal, right? Because what was the thing that happened the first time Georgia and Texas played? That's right. Texas couldn't block Georgia at all.
Correct. Huge deal if Kelvin Banks can't play. He is probably the best tackle in the country, right? Him or Will Campbell, I guess, at LSU. So yeah, I guess Texas also has to ask itself if Kelvin Banks is iffy, but you think you're definitely going to have him back for the playoff, do you even want to play him in this game because you're in the playoff already?
Right. So that makes sense. I mean, they just got after Quinn Ewers like a maniac. And then they had to put in Arch Manning in the first game. But Quinn Ewers had 50 dropbacks in the first game against Georgia. Landis, he was pressured on 19 of those 50 dropbacks. So he was pressured 38% of the time.
Yeah.
In all his other games, he's been pressured on 24% of his dropbacks. So that they couldn't, it made it non-functional, and he got benched in the middle of the game. But part of it, right, was just they wanted a quarterback in Arch Manning who could just move a little bit.
Yeah.
That it was like, well, we just need a quarterback who can run some because we can't block them, which is what happens when you can't block them. Jalen Walker, I think, had 7 pressures in that game for Georgia. Like, they can really get after you, but Texas has to have somewhat of a better plan for this one, don't they?
Yeah, I would think so. And I think like Georgia was doing some pretty creative stuff with this front in that game, if I can recall. So maybe there's more in that bag that Georgia didn't get to in that game that it can still fall back on in this one. But I don't know that Texas would be caught off guard in this game as much as it was in the first one. Quinn Ewers, I think, is a little healthier too. Like, he was pretty banged up coming out of that game. Like, and I think like last week, even against Texas A&M, Texas put Arch in there to run a little bit, and he scored a rushing touchdown. So Quinn's mobility is probably the biggest factor here. Can he avoid some of this pressure? Because he's going to get pressured, right? You're not going to block Georgia the whole game. How does he handle it? Because even like he was pressured, and then also he was terrible when he was pressured. It's like sometimes you get pressured a lot and you're good, and sometimes you get pressured a lot and you play like Quinn played against Georgia the first time. So if Ewers can navigate some of that, then I think we've seen teams be able to move the ball on Georgia's defense this year as long as they can handle that front.
Yeah. I don't really want to learn about these teams. I only learned a little bit. It's just funny. Like, let's talk about guys that we literally have never talked about the whole season, because that's the whole point. We let other people handle this stuff. Who's the best skill player in this game on either side? Like, I'm going through Texas's leading receiver is a tight end. Their best running back got hurt before the year. Like, who does Texas have that scares you? Who does Georgia have that scares you? I have a few more stats on what doesn't scare you about Georgia's offense. Yeah. Both quarterbacks coming in are like, are they the best quarterback in the country? They've both been up and down. Neither are going to go to New York for the Heisman ceremony. And I think before the year, you might have guessed that both Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers could be there. Nobody is talking about either of these guys being the number 1 pick in the draft next year. These offenses, there's nothing. When we come from our spot, Landis, when we come from a world of Tez Johnson and Jordan James and Jeremiah Smith and Ty Warren and Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins and Aronde Gadsden and Des Reed and the unbelievable skill position talent in the North, and then you have to stare at a Southern game like this, and you think, like, where are the good players? Where are the good players? Who am I supposed to watch with the ball in their hands that would make me think, oh, Northern defense, we're on the playoff, you better watch out for that? There's none. There's nobody.
I agree with you. Like, there's not I guess a whole lot in the way of dudes on either one of these offenses, at least guys that have not played that way. I guess you'd look at the running backs, like was it Nate Frazier at Georgia? And I
guess that's about how Georgia stinks running it, but not to cut you off, but they stink. But go ahead.
Quintrevon Wisner at Texas has been pretty good of late. Texas has been running the ball well. Like, I think it's over 200 yards in 3 of its last 4 games, and Wisner has like 300 plus yards combined in the last 2 games. So he has kind of stepped up there. I think for Texas, it is Wisner and Jaden Blue, the 2 running backs, because Blue will get involved as a receiver too.
If Kyle Monungai or Caleb Johnson played for Texas, they would put them in one of those Cadillacs with like the steer head on the front of it and drive them to New York. Yeah. It would be over. All right, so I'm impressed. But the bottom line for the Texas offense against the Georgia defense, Georgia's going to get after you. They got to protect, and then if they protect, maybe they can do some stuff, right?
Yeah, and they also need to not give the ball away, because they've lost 3 fumbles and threw an interception against Georgia. The thing
they both turned it over in that game,
and Carson Beck threw 3 picks in that game. Georgia's first 5 scoring drives against Texas, 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals, 5 scoring drives combined. 89 yards.
Not high level. Like, acknowledging what the Georgia defense is. Of course. Like, is that what you're here for? Is that what we have to do? Georgia plays good defense. We do that. They don't play as good a defense as they did in 21. They're good. We get it.
Yeah.
But incompetent offensive play.
I mean,
in
at
that
times
game.
incompetent defensive play too. Like Alabama threw it all over them in the first half of that game. Georgia Tech didn't have any problem moving the ball on Georgia.
They're not that good. Nobody, just please don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared about. This is the thing. Oh my God, the SEC is so mid. They're so mid because you go through the whole year and it's like, oh, wow, Ole Miss lost to Kentucky, and then it's like, also these are clearly the two best teams, and they are mid. They are clearly the two best teams, and they are not up to the standard of what you think of the best team in the SEC being. Like, is that fair to say? At very least,
yeah.
To its own standard, the league has not lived up this year. But these are the two best teams. I'm excited. Be excited about this. I'm fired up. 4 p.m. Saturday Eastern.
I think it'll be a close game. That'll be something.
You know, it'll be section. We're gonna have section. They should have that as the intro thing, like a tap dancing Dr. Pepper can. We're gonna have section. This game is so mid. Don't get fooled. So can I talk about how Georgia stinks, by the way, offensively? Shout out to our guy Shane, who is inevitably watching this and will tweet 6 things at me as soon as the thing is done, which is great. I mean, I love it. Sure. Georgia, average yards per carry. In 2021, 5.26. That was 14th in the country. In 2022, 5.53. That was 5th in the country. In 2023, 5.34. That was 11th in the country. What does Georgia do, Landis? Hey, they're going to be physical. They're going to have multiple backs. They're going to run the ball on you, right? That's what they do. They got Trevor Etienne from Florida. They're going to keep doing it. That's what they do. 4.24 yards per carry, 79th in the country. Mid running the ball.
They were dealing with, like, Tate Ratledge missed a few games, right?
They must be the only team in the country with offensive line injuries.
They surely are. I think it is certainly a different front when Tate Ratledge is back in there, and he is back in there. But yeah, they're not. There's nothing about the offense that's like even interesting. They're bad. They're not unless Carson Beck like sheds the form that he's been in the entire year and decides he wants to be adequate quarterback again. Like, what is there to be excited about with the Georgia offense?
There's nothing. So Carson Beck has not been as awful lately as he has been at times. He's had 3 games with 3 picks this year. So like there are times when he had 3 picks against Bama, Texas, and Florida. The last 3 games, he has 11 touchdowns and no picks against Tennessee, UMass, which they kind of struggled with for a while, and Georgia Tech that took him into 8 OT. So he's been good, and they still got taken into. If he threw 3 picks against Georgia Tech, they would have lost by 21. They needed the refs to bail them out and 8 overtimes to beat Georgia Tech, and that was with good Carson Beck. Here's the other thing. And you know what, Georgia, don't try to run the ball on Georgia. They're physical up front. They got those defensive tackles. Don't run the ball on Georgia. Average yards per carry against Georgia, 2.56 in 2021. Generational defense. Can't run the ball on them. Number 2 in the country. 2022, number 3 in the country. Averaged 2.88 yards per attempt rushing allowed. Last year, 3.77, 37th. This year, 3.84, 42nd. So when they run it, they average 79th yards per carry. When they're run on, they're 42nd. That is the definition of mid mentality. Mid mentality. Woo! That's an 8-4 team. They are an 8-4 team that somehow, this is not a 12-0 team that somehow went 10-2. This is an 8-4 team that somehow went 10-2. They beat Kentucky by a point and beat Georgia Tech in 8 overtimes. 8-4. Excited. 4 p.m. SEC. Grand. Oh my God.
I can't. You're gonna be locked in.
I'm gonna go get a taco. I can't. Just tell me when it's over.
You know where you're gonna be. You're gonna be in the TGI Friday. Oh no, it's not open anymore, is it? The TGI Fridays in the basement of the Marriott.
The only thing that could possibly make this game palatable to me is green bean crispers, but I don't think I'm gonna have that option.
You're not gonna get.
By the way, did you ever have the purple Gatorade? It tastes like a melted Freezy Pop.
Oh yeah. It's pretty good. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like that idea is like, if they should just call this name, because everybody, like in the modern era, they just name drinks that don't tell you the flavor. What is the flavor? The flavor of this is 0 sugar. No, that's not actually the flavor. Oh, this actually is called grape. But usually it's always called like mountain ice and stuff. If you said melted Freezy Pop, as a flavor, I'd be lined up around the block for that. Okay, so 4 p.m. You can watch it if you want. I'm seriously in the North. I'm giving you permission to not watch it because it doesn't really matter. There's nothing to be scared of. I don't know. Maybe one of these teams will win a playoff game or two. That's fine. They're not scary. Now, if you just want to watch them and not be scared, that's fine. If you want to say, like, if you want to make a bet on like combined interceptions for Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck over under 5.5, great.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like spectacular football. So I don't know.
The thing that is a bit annoying about Saturday is that this game has a window to itself. Big 12 and the MAC are at noon. And then the Sun Belt, the Big 10, and the ACC are all at night, but there's only one in the middle slot. That is the SEC title game.
I call that the taco window. So
Yeah.
4 p.m. Eastern taco window. You can come back and pick it up like in the middle of the third quarter. And you can just walk into the room. Maybe your friend's been watching. And you just walk into the room and say, how many picks so far? Then your friend will look up and say 4. And be like, what's going on? It's like there's 11 minutes left in the third quarter. And we're at 4 combined. It's like, all right, sit down and eat your tacos. Yeah. One friend stay and count interceptions. The other friend get tacos. I'm picking Texas. I'm not going to pick Georgia. I'm going to pick Georgia. What are we talking about? I'm picking Texas.
I'm picking Georgia.
Here, take your hat.
I know you got too many points. I'm picking Georgia in a low scoring game. This game's going to suck. 20-17 Georgia is my pick. Both these offenses stink. And I think they're both going to try to run the ball, and it'll be a low possession game. I actually do think I certainly think Texas can win. Texas is favored. Of course, Texas can win. But I think that the first game against Georgia is probably a little bit of an anomaly where Texas just got something thrown at them that they weren't expecting. Yeah. Didn't handle the moment all that well. And now that they've gone through that once, maybe they handle it better. But no Calvin Banks. I'll take Georgia.
You had me at this game stinks. Yeah. So you're allowed you can pick whoever you want as long as your analysis is this game stinks. This is 14 minutes on this game. This is too much. God, can you imagine being a Southern show this year? You'd have to lie to yourself, right? Wouldn't you be lying to yourself? I think our guy Connor O'Gara at Saturday Down South has actually been pretty honest about things because he has a show called Saturday Down South and he'll tweet things like Alabama's a fraud or whatever. And it's like, that guy keeps it real. But if you really are dedicated to being a honk, how do you sleep at night? How do you sleep? Do you want to do the ACC?
Yeah.
They're slightly less annoying. They're still Southern.
Oh,
but
it's Dabo. So
less.
Be careful.
You're going to give me a heart attack. It's Dabo. I love your vibe today. God, this frickin' game. I don't give two squats. Nobody watched this. It's opposite the Big Ten title game. Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. SMU is favored by 2.5. I don't even know what to make of SMU. I don't even know what to make of them.
Can I ask you just a playoff question about this? But so Clemson wins. Obviously, Clemson is in it because Clemson will be the ACC champion. Yeah. If SMU wins, if SMU wins, Clemson's out. But I kind of think SMU's in either way.
Well, now we're in the fight. Yeah. Now we're in the SMU Alabama fight. And my official stance is I don't care.
No, I don't care. I don't care much either. But I'm just wondering, what are the stakes of this game actually?
Yeah, I actually think they're pretty high. No, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I mean, it's a sleepless night for Rhett Lashley if they lose.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're out, but they certainly are not in for sure.
Yeah.
The thing that I have come around on is if Clemson wins, Clemson's the 12 seed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No doubt about it. So if Clemson wins, Clemson's getting a little happy in the valley. They're getting a little beaver in the stadium. Let's get Dabo to State College, baby.
I didn't think of that, but you're right. Yeah, they definitely would be.
Or whatever. We've talked about that.
Maybe they're the 11.
About what would I think they're the 12. Yeah. Who's the 5? Penn State versus Ohio State. How would they handle that? It certainly would disappoint me.
Well, they wouldn't be the 12 if Clemson beat SMU to get in, but then SMU still made the field. Would Clemson be ranked behind SMU?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I just want, it's enticing. Wait till you see my pick. It's enticing to me to get Dabo north because weasels don't handle the cold very well.
It's true.
So
famously warm weather animals. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure he's a lovely person. I just think he's a sports weasel. So he's a sports weasel, and I would like to see a sports weasel in South Bend, Indiana, or a sports weasel in Columbus, Ohio, or a sports weasel in State College, Pennsylvania. So, but who do you think's going to win?
I have SMU winning the game. Can I? So this is I don't know how good either of these teams are. I was poking through the ACC standings.
Yeah.
Top half of the league, SMU played 3 games against the top half of the league, and it was like the only 3 games that were remotely close for them. They beat Duke, Louisville, and Boston College by a combined 18 points. Clemson only played 1 team in the top half of the league, and it lost to Louisville by 10. Neither one of these teams had to play Miami, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, or Notre Dame. And
all right, now you're making me mad. Now you're getting me mad again. Why isn't Syracuse in this game? You're making me mad. Are you making the case that Syracuse is the best team in the ACC and that Stanford loss screwed them up and the 5-pick game against Pitt?
Maybe. I guess I wouldn't I don't know how much worse Syracuse is than any of these 2 teams. We don't know because they didn't have to play each other. So SMU's been very good. SMU has not lost since it lost to BYU, and many of those games weren't close. 6 of them were by at least 23 points. 7 of them were by at least 2 possessions. So they've been beating the crap out of everybody, but they also get to beat the crap out of not very good teams in the ACC, because the ACC wasn't, in my opinion, a very good league this year. So, but I was still picking SMU because Clemson is just like a shell of itself. It's like okay on offense, it's okay on defense. This is not I mean, obviously the record speaks for itself, but when Clemson has played teams with a pulse, it hasn't played well. It's won some of those games, but it hasn't played well in all of them.
Yeah.
It has. I was digging. SMU is number 28 in the country in pressure rate, so they get after you pretty good. There are 22 guys in the ACC with 30 or more pressures, and 5 of them are on SMU's defense. Clemson has played 6 games against teams who are in the top 50 in pressure rate, and has negative EPA per play in 4 of them.
What is happening?
And fewer than 5 yards per play in 4 of them. If you can get after a quarterback, you're going to beat Clemson, I think.
But I was looking. Cade Klubnik's decent or no?
Yeah, no, he's played well. And his grades under pressure and stuff are good. It's just the offense sputters when it plays a good defensive front. And Klubnik's run more. Klubnik actually has more rushing yards than Kevin Jennings, which I was surprised to see when I was breaking down the 2 quarterbacks. So I think it comes down to that. As long as what we've seen from SMU's defensive front is real and not just being propped up by SMU not playing very many good teams, then I think SMU should win the game.
So here's the thing, right? The point you made that SMU lost to BYU in the non-conference, but they haven't played anybody as good as BYU since.
Correct.
And Dabo opened with Georgia, just played South Carolina in a 17-14 game. Didn't really play anybody in between, but Dabo's been here before, and this is a whole new world for this entire SMU program. So I picked Clemson because I just think Clemson's been a little more tested this year, and I could see SMU not handling the spot. This is a tremendous thing for this SMU program. And for Clemson's what are you talking? Dabo beat Nick Saban in a national championship game. He can handle Rhett Lashley in an ACC championship game, and house money. They shouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
They lose to South Carolina last week. Fran Brown gifts them a spot in this game. And Cade Klubnik is at least competent at times, right? I mean, the times that it stands out the last couple of years when Clemson's been incompetent, because DJ Uiagalelei and that entire offense was just a horrible. It's better than that.
Yeah.
I don't think Clemson's good. I'm curious to see how SMU handles the spot when, honestly, they haven't been that tested.
So I was going to ask you that because Dabo's 8-1 in ACC championship games, and the loss was the first one. So he's won 8 in a row when he's been there. And I was going to ask you how much you think that might matter, but it seems like you think it might matter a decent bit.
Yeah, I think both these teams would lose this game to Syracuse if Syracuse was in it.
Of course.
Now I'm mad.
Yeah.
I feel bad subjecting our audience to those 2 breakdowns. I wanted to be fair. And listen, we covered the whole sport. But doing that even for 20 minutes makes me not want to cover the whole sport. My God, what do people do? Dabo's really, although can we get back to our teams? I'm getting hives. Oh my God.
Can I say one more thing just about this game?
Sick. Oh my God.
Just like sick. If you're thinking about it and like think about who might win, the other reason that I picked SMU is that in the 3 games that Clemson has lost this year, to Georgia, to Louisville, and to South Carolina, they got run all over. 6. Okay. Every one of them was over 6 yards to carry. Louisville was almost 8. SMU's got a quarterback in Kevin Jennings who can run. They got a good running back. And last week Lenora Sellers rushed for 166 yards against Clemson, the South Carolina quarterback. So I think SMU might be able to run it here.
We already saw the ACC championship game. The ACC championship game was last week between Syracuse and Miami, and Syracuse won it. It just so happens neither of them are actually playing in it. That was a better game and maybe 2 better teams. If I said to you that Miami and Syracuse are better than SMU and Clemson,
I'd hear you out.
We could at least have a discussion about it, right? Because it's like, SMU is a great story, and now we're having like all the schedule strength battles and stuff. You start looking through who they've beaten, it's like, like they really. I mean, you made the great point off the top.
Yeah,
like the only teams they played in the top half are the ones they've kind of struggled against a little bit. But to not,
they still won the games, and the one that really sticks out when you look at it is they beat Duke in overtime, but SMU also turned the ball over 6 times in that game. So it's like they beat Louisville by a touchdown, they beat Boston College by 10, and everyone else they hammered. So I do think SMU is a pretty good team. I think if you want to tell me you think Miami and Syracuse are better than Clemson, I probably agree with you. I don't know that I would agree automatically that they're better than SMU. I think SMU is pretty good.
But I do think now this I'm sounding like an SEC person, and we're going down a schedule strength argument. I just think, for instance, Michigan and Nebraska and Washington and like some of the teams that Indiana beat are better than these ACC teams that SMU is beating. Like that, the middle.
Yeah.
I think the middle of the Big Ten. Yeah. It's like, who did Indiana beat? But they destroyed everybody. And even I just think again, for all of Michigan's flaws, they do have some things that, if you're trying to compare Michigan and Duke, right, from a talent perspective. So I get it. We understand. We don't have to revisit what Michigan is and isn't. But beating Michigan by 5 versus beating Duke in overtime, I think that's a much better win for Indiana than it is for SMU. Is that fair?
I think so. And you get I think Virginia Tech is smack dab in the middle of the SEC, and Rutgers beat Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Yeah, in the ACC. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No. So I mean, and so now we're having an Indiana SMU conversation that there's no reason to have. Nobody else is having.
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
It doesn't exist because in the North we're just chilling out. We're just chilling out and waiting for the brackets because we don't got anything to worry about. All right. Quick break. When we come back, hopefully my hives will go away because we'll be talking about a Northern team with the big game breakdown on Arizona State versus Iowa State next on Kings of the North. Back on Kings of the North, Landis. This is why the folks are here. This is what we want to be an expert on. This is Arizona State versus Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. A lot of craziness. Didn't think this is where we would be. As it turns out, I think a pretty interesting matchup. Arizona State is favored by 2 noon Eastern on Saturday. Good matchup though, right?
Yeah, I think so. This maybe the most evenly matched game, at least of the Power Conference championship games, right? I guess Penn State, Oregon could be too, but yeah, this is a pretty compelling matchup. I think it'll be fun.
Biggest game in Iowa State history, I think, is probably fair to say. It's 133rd year of Iowa State football. They have won 2 conference titles. They won the Missouri Valley Conference in 1911 and 1912. They played in the Big 12 championship game in 2020, but like that's the COVID year. This is like their people can be there, the 12-team playoff, like all the things at stake, everything they've made possible. They just reached their first 10-win season in school history by beating Kansas State in Farmageddon last week. I was there at least for 2.5 quarters of that game. This is great for the Iowa State fan base. And Matt Campbell became Iowa State's all-time leading winner among coaches in its history this year. So this is the greatest coach, 133 seasons. It's the greatest coach in Iowa State history, leading the greatest season in Iowa State history. And they have a chance to make the playoff against a Kenny Dillingham is 23. It's 23. He graduated from college 2 years ago.
17, I thought.
17. He's 34. He's the youngest head coach in the FBS. So let's start with our big game breakdown. Arizona State offense versus Iowa State defense. Landis, what do you got?
We got a big injury for Arizona State.
Yeah, we do.
Wide receiver Jordan Tyson, who leads the team with 75 receptions for 1,101 yards and 10 touchdowns, will not play in this game. He got injured against Arizona. It sounded like maybe he's probably out for the year, but he's definitely not going to play in this game. He has 113 targets this year, and the next closest guy for Arizona State has 41. He has the second largest target share in the country behind, which is like percentage of your team's targets, behind only Ricky White at UNLV. Like, wow. This guy is the passing offense, to the point where, like, in the game that he got injured against Arizona, he had 8 for 143, and the other 7 players who caught passes only had 11 receptions. So, like, wow. If they're throwing the ball, it's going his way. This is the Arizona State offense is run it with Cam Scatterbo, run it with Sam Levitt, the quarterback, and throw it to Jordan Tyson. And Jordan Tyson's not playing in this game.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, it's a big loss for Arizona State. And I think opens up an opportunity for Iowa State to play this heavy against the run and hope that that's enough. Because Iowa State's not been a good run defense this year. We've talked about that a few times in some of these games. It's 112th in the country in yards per carry allowed, which I just, you wouldn't expect that from Iowa State, right? But as we've chronicled throughout the season, they've had a rash of linebacker injuries. Probably like the 3 guys who would have played the most this year haven't hardly played at all this year and have been out all year and aren't going to be around for this game. So Iowa State's been working around that. But I thought Iowa State did a decent job against Kansas State rushing attack last week, right? Like Avery Johnson, DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards, like it's pretty good. pretty good three-pronged rushing attack. And Kansas State, I think, was at 144 yards total, 4.6 yards per carry, and Iowa State won that game. I think that's pretty good. I was looking at Sports Info Solutions, and Kansas State in that game, when Iowa State played with a loaded box, only averaged 2.4 yards per carry. Oh, and it averaged 5.5 when Iowa State didn't play with a loaded box. Okay. But I think with Jordan Tyson out, you can probably just play with the loaded box all game if you're Iowa State.
I like that idea. And that sounds good to me.
And just take your chances on the outside, because like Iowa State has some guys in the secondary anyway. Just trust your ability to cover those guys and put 8 guys in the box on every snap and try to slow down Cam Scatterbo, who is very good. He's one of the best running backs in the country. And Sam Levitt, who I think quietly has like played very well at quarterback for Arizona State, runs it pretty well. 21-5 touchdown to interception ratio. He only has 3 turnover-worthy plays all year. Like, he's been very solid for Arizona State. And one of its losses was a game where Sam Levitt didn't play. I think it was against Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati. So that backfield combo of Levitt and Scatterbo is quite good. But I think if you take Tyson out of that mix and then you're just forcing Levitt to throw it to other guys that he doesn't have as strong of a rapport with, and then you can really kind of throw all your resources at stopping the run. I think that has to be the path for Iowa State. And it maybe would have been even if Tyson was playing, you just like worry about then, like, can you cover that guy in the game? But now you don't have to worry about it, right? So I actually think this broke in like a pretty nice way for Iowa State's defense.
And you would have believed, like, Jeremiah Cooper's a good corner, right? Like you would believe that, like, you still had guys who could do that. I was on the Y Option show with our pal Yogi Roth this week talking about the Penn State Oregon game. And I was making the case that we all know Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty are going to be 2 of the 4 Heisman finalists. Dylan Gabriel certainly is positioned, it feels like, to be almost certainly a 3rd. And I thought Ty Warren, the Penn State tight end, was very well positioned to potentially take that 4th spot in New York. And Yogi said Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah.
Like, don't forget him, that he's got this stage. And again, we won't be as dismissive of Arizona State as we were of those other 4 Yahoo teams we talked about from the South earlier. Cam Scatterbo's good.
He's very good. And he's a workhorse, I think, to Yogi's point. Like, you want to talk about like what has gotten Arizona State to this surprising position. It has been, I don't want to take anything away from the rest of the team, but it's been a lot of Cam Scatterbo. He's number 7 in the country with 22.5 carries per game. He's 7th in rushing yards per game. He's 9th in rushing touchdowns. One of the other things from the Kansas State game for Iowa State is they tackled well. They only had 3 or 4 missed tackles in that game, but they're going to have to tackle well too, because Cam Scatterbo is 4th in the country in missed tackles forced, and he's 5th in the country in yards after contact.
That guy's a load. I mean, it's like Kamanung guy,
absolutely.
Right? It's Kamanung guy kind of guy. Workhorse, hard to tackle. You can give him the ball 30 times a game in a game like this and feel great about it. And he's going to be running hard in the 4th quarter. So, but 8 guys in the box, 9 guys in the box every snap, you got to tackle. And there have been times. Right. There have been times when Matt Campbell has been frustrated. I think a couple games where they haven't tackled, but they're pretty on point. 11 guys in the box. I don't know. Like, just like if you lose, if Iowa State loses this game because Sam Leavitt finds a way to throw the ball to the other guys, I guess credit to that. But just do not let these 2 guys run all over you.
Yeah, I think that has to be the key. And Iowa State, I think, has been okay. Oh, never mind. Take that back. If Sam Leavitt beats you throwing the ball, then what are you going to do? I guess you just can't let. I think it's mostly about like getting off the field and not letting Arizona State hold it forever. With Cam Scatterbo just like churning out first down after first down, and Iowa State's defense. It's actually hasn't really been all that good at anything this year. It's bad against the run. It's bad against the pass. It's like middle of the pack on 3rd down. It's middle of the pack in red zone touchdown percentage. It's just not a typical Iowa State defense, I think, because of these injuries, which makes it, I guess, all the more remarkable that Iowa State has still gotten to this point, and it's because its offense is very good, which I know you'll talk about in a second. But I think it's not like shut down Cam Scatterbo necessarily. It's just like don't let him carry it 25 times for 240 yards kind of thing. Like make them really kind of earn it. And then trust your ability to cover an Arizona State team without it by far its best passing weapon.
So, and I never, you can spin a stat like this however way you want to. Arizona State is 6-1 in 1-score games this year.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean they're tough and resilient and well coached and they don't make stupid plays and they're clutch and they make winning plays? Or does it mean like they've been playing with fire and they've made it this far? Right? That this is, it is a tremendous story. It is. And again, we count Arizona in the South. We don't count them as a border or California thing, but obviously they're not like an SEC team. So they are one of the great stories in college football. And when you are throwing, certainly up here, Kurt Cignetti as a coach, National Coach of the Year candidate, Deion Sanders as a National Coach of the Year candidate, Kalani Sitake at BYU, probably not as much anymore. Kenny Dillingham's right there, the youngest guy doing it, and they were picked to finish last, and they're playing for the conference title. Kenny Dillingham is like Kurt Cignetti's desert grandson. This is an amazing story that we just have not been talking about a lot. This is not a supremely talented top to bottom team, right? This is a team that got Sam Leavitt as a transfer from Michigan State. Again, like it's funny to think about for all the stuff. Like Michigan State had a pretty good quarterback sitting there, and we understand what happened. And Jonathan Smith came in and brought Aiden Childs, but they got Leavitt in the portal. Kenny Dillingham is a sharp young mind with a lot of energy, and then Cam Scatterbo is a workhorse. But there's not a ton else to this, right? This is not a 1 through 44, man. Iowa State has a better roster. I think Iowa State has more depth and just like more quality football players who have been doing this.
Well, part of that too is in Arizona State is currently under scholarship reductions because of the stuff that happened with Herm Edwards too, right? Like I think remember Kenny Dillingham at one point, I think in the middle of the year when it was obvious that Arizona State was going to be pretty good and a player in the Big 12 race, like Kenny Dillingham said, like I'm in a position where a lot of coaches just get fired. Like you're the bridge between the guy who got sanctions and the next guy. And he's found a way around that in a really impressive way. They play hard. I don't think they'll shy away from the moment. And like, there's nothing really at play here. Like we talked about with the ACC game where like someone has been here before and maybe that will help them. Like this is uncharted territory for both of these teams. And both have played in close games. I don't know. I would say the close games that Iowa State has played in because Iowa State did things to make those close games when they shouldn't have been. I would be lying if I said I've watched every Arizona State game close enough to tell you one way or the other what that was. But the bottom line is they've been tested. So like I don't think they're going to shy away from the moment here, which is to say that Iowa State needs to come and play, I think, one of its better games this year.
I think Iowa State should be favored in this game, though. Like I don't know what it is about Arizona State, because Iowa State was one that was undefeated for a while, and then they had the two goofy losses. We get it, but I don't know that there's really anything that Arizona State does. I thought Kansas State was a tougher matchup for Iowa State. You know, like all this credit to Arizona State, but they are a crazy underdog story. Iowa State was supposed to be pretty good, and they are good. Arizona State came out of nowhere. So I want. This is not like a long shot take. I think Iowa State should win this game. I will be disappointed if Iowa State doesn't win this game, because even if Iowa State was playing Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter, and it's like, well, you know, okay, that can be tough. Who knows what's going to happen? Or that Jake Retzloff has just been making plays all year and that BYU defense, right? And there's certain things that you would say, well, I don't know. Again, all credit to Arizona State. I don't know that they're scary, especially when their only receiver is out. So make sure Cam Scatteraboo doesn't run for 240 yards on you. And I think Iowa State has an awesome chance in this game.
Yeah, I think this very well could be a wrong team is favored situation. It's based off of the depth of the rosters. I don't know. I guess like if you would have said before the year who has better quarterbacks, like of course Iowa State does. Sam Levin's probably played better than Rocco Beck this year, though, right?
But Rocco's been in big games. Rocco's been in big games. Yeah.
The running back, like it's a one-man show at Arizona State, but like Cam Scatteraboo is better at running back than anything Iowa State has. Yeah. So like I don't think Iowa State is like worlds better than Arizona State, but I do think they are better. I don't disagree that Iowa State should be favored here.
So this is my little stat, and this is one of those, it's hard. Like you just get in stats sometimes, and sometimes a team can be like kind of low ranked in one thing, but higher ranked in a different way. So again, the Brian Fremeau stats, we had him on the show a couple weeks ago, that measure everybody by drives kind of, but he has an offense rating, a defense rating, and a special teams rating. Yep. There are only 5 teams in the country, 6 teams in the country that are in the top 30 in offense, defense, and special teams. And those 6 teams are Ohio State, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, SMU, and Iowa State. So you can look at some of the defensive stuff. Again, depending what you're looking at for Iowa State. They certainly give stuff up. I think they're a little bend, don't break, but they are the second least penalized team in the Power 4. They are the second best team offensively in converting 4th downs in the Power 4. They do some of these things to win on the margins, right? Don't get penalized, make it on 4th down. And as we flip to the other side of the ball, like they're okay on defense. They're not great. They can get all the stuff you said. They're not terrible on defense. But when I was looking through the Iowa State offense stuff, I was looking through things, Landis. I was going through different stats, and I was having a very hard time finding any good stats for the Iowa State offense. And I was like, why do I think these guys are good? What am I missing here? I feel like a maniac because they don't do anything very well on offense. Their red zone touchdown rate is average. Their 3rd down conversion rate is average. They are 103rd in offensive success rate, which is the do your job stat. Indiana, all year we talk about Indiana is a do your job offense. Iowa State is a don't do your job offense. They do not do their job. They don't run the ball all that well. Rocco Becht is like okay against pressure. He's okay not against pressure. The one thing about Rocco Becht, they don't throw any screens. Of all the quarterbacks in the Power Four who meet the threshold for like 20% of their team's passing attempts, he's thrown the fewest screens. They do not help him out. And like they're okay throwing the ball down the field. Jalen Noel, the awesome receiver, has 8 catches of 40 yards or more, which is tied for the most in the nation. But 8 in 12 games, it's like you hope you hit one big play to Jalen Noel a game, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, why do I think they're good? What is it? And then I think I found it. They are one of the best intermediate passing teams in the country. And intermediate passing success makes you feel warm inside because there's nothing like watching a guy rip a 15-yard throw in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
To a receiver who ran a good route and makes a nice catch with his hands and you pick up a first down. So they don't really run it. They throw it deep some. They certainly don't air it out and throw it deep all the time. But Rocco Becht, 10 to 19 yards, which is the intermediate threshold on PFF, is about as good as it gets. And Jaden Higgins is the best intermediate pass catcher in the country. So this is how you have to watch this game. They're not going to, I think, have great success running the ball, like first down, second down. But then, like once every 3 plays, they'll rip a 12-yard throw and that'll move the chains. And if they are doing that, they'll win. And if they are not doing that, they'll lose because that is what they do. And it took me an hour and a half to figure it out, Bill.
It is what they do. But it also, I mean, we've said this before, like it feels like that doesn't show up until they're down or their backs against the wall, right? Like it's like,
absolutely,
why not come out and assert yourself with your 2 NFL receivers immediately? And maybe Iowa State, I don't know. Matt Campbell is a good football coach who like has a winning formula, so I don't expect him to deviate from it much. But I could certainly see a situation where Iowa State comes out with a different mindset and just starts throwing it all over the place, and Arizona State can't cover them and can't keep up, and that might even lead to what could be a comfortable win for Iowa State. But that's just not the way that they play. That's not the way they operate.
No. So they have 3 backs. Carson Hansen averages 4.9 yards per carry. Abu Sama averages 4.8. Jalen Jackson averages 4.2. They've mixed them up all year. Hansen last week was 13 for 58. Sama was 15 for 81. And like being there were a couple moments in that game when Sama got loose a little bit and was like, okay, here you go. Like feels the most dangerous of those backs. But their 4.36 yards per carry is 72nd in the nation. Their offensive line is okay. Jalen Travis, their left tackle, is a Princeton transfer. He's been pretty good. Tyler Miller, their right tackle, is a 3-year starter. Jared Hufford, their center, leads the Power 4 in snaps for a center, so he's been like an anchor all year. Like, they're pretty good. They're not great. They're like line yards, which is how much in the run game does your line get you, like before the back has to start doing it on his own, is not great. There's just a lot of stuff that's not great, but what's great is the receivers. As you said, Jaden Higgins, 80 catches, 1,068 yards. Jalen Noel, 67 catches, 1,013 yards. Noel's the deep threat. Higgins is the strong hands guy who's the 15-yard threat. And like Rocco Becht is more accurate on intermediate throws than he is on short throws. He threw that terrible pick 6 against Utah the other week, right? Where like a little flip and it's like, that's where he gets loose. But I think when he's comfortable, and he doesn't even have to be comfortable because he'll do it on the run too. If he's ripping stuff mid-range, he's got 2 dudes that can make you pay there. So they do they're just they play a very specific way. And sometimes it takes them a while to get to it. But if they can get to what they do well, they do it as well as anybody and they can kill you with it.
Yeah.
So this is one of those, if they get in, and I mean, like if they win this game and they get in, like Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins are going to scare the crap out of Penn State or Texas or Georgia or whomever gets Iowa State in the playoff because like this is real stuff, you know? So, and then they do enough like good special teams, good field position, no penalties, but, really just solid. And I think in the end, Bill, kind of was saying, I actually think they should be even better than they are. They just had the first 10-win season in school history. Yeah. And I think the pieces are there, knowing the defensive injuries, but I think the pieces are there for them to even play better, look better, and play easier games than they have. But they're 10-2, which is amazing. But I think they have a chance to play their best game here. And if they do, I think they could win handily.
Yeah, I think they could. I guess the one, like, Arizona State doesn't blitz. They don't pressure a ton. They don't give up explosive passing plays. So like Rocco Beck's patience, I guess, will get tested. Like, and I guess like the entire offense, like, can you just like slowly move it down the field, short and intermediate stuff down the field, and then finish in the red zone? Which I then think maybe means you need Rocco Beck's legs a little bit too if it comes down to finishing drives. Great. Inside the 20-yard line. So it has the pieces to do that. It's just not, Iowa State's just not always been like effective. It's not, again, like I guess Iowa State probably played his best game of the year last week, right? When it beat Kansas State. So that's good.
I think that might be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we've kind of been waiting for that a little bit. So it's good that they showed it just before going into this game, but it's not like it's not been nearly machine-like in its efficiency on offense, even when it looks like maybe it should be given some of the pieces that it has. But if it is in this game, then yes, I agree with you that it should win handily. But I'm not super confident that it's going to be in that form.
Overall pass rush grade on PFF by team, Arizona State is 132 out of 134.
Mm-hmm.
Their secondary is pretty decent, I think. Xavier Alford seems like a pretty good safety. Rodney Bimage, might have a typo there. He's a true freshman. He's like their best corner. He's a true freshman. But I think I think they're fine in the secondary, and they don't get after you great. So I don't think there's anything that Arizona State's going to do that's really going to prevent Iowa State from doing the things it wants to do, throwing the ball.
I think that's right. Yeah. They only blitzed Noah Fafita 4 times last week. Like when they beat Arizona. I think they blitzed Avery Johnson maybe like 11 times and only Jake Retzlaff 9 times. So like they don't blitz a ton. They don't like pressure. Pressure is not their thing. There's not a guy on their defense that has like 30 to 40 something pressures that like you're really got to key on and worry about, right? So like I think Rocco Beck will be comfortable in this game.
I agree.
It's just like, so what do you do with that? If you're not getting harassed, then you better be locked in. And
so I do think, but that feels like, again, there's not necessarily great coverage, not great pass rush, which feels like absolutely the opportunity for Rocco Beck to settle in, rip throws, and be more comfortable than he's ever been and play the best game of his career. And then the other thing is Arizona State defense, 97th in third down conversions. They don't get off the field, 117th in red zone touchdown rate. They don't stop people in the red zone. So I just like there's an opportunity for, I think this pairs up well, that sometimes Iowa State can't get started in the thing that it does, but I don't know that Arizona State's going to do anything to prevent them from coming out and throwing the ball the way they want to throw it right away and doing it all game.
Yeah, I think you could be right. Arizona State does have 14 picks this year. 5 in the last 3 games. I remember one of the Jake Retzlaff picks when they played BYU was like a tip pass to the line, just hung in the air forever. I can't recall what Avery Johnson did in that game against Arizona State, but like they'll just play a ton of coverage. I think there's just going to be like a lot of bodies back there that Rocco Beck is going to have to kind of navigate and make sure he's finding the right windows.
All right. I think Iowa State has to win. I'm going to be what am I going to be? What am I going to do? March to Ames and yell at them? No.
Yeah.
But man, it's all there. There's nothing here to stop Iowa State. If they play their game and be who they are, sometimes it's like, well, go play your A game. Well, maybe your A game is not enough. Iowa State's A game is enough here, especially with Arizona State's best receiver out. Mm-hmm. So I have Iowa State winning this one. You have Iowa State winning this one? Okay.
I do. Also by a field goal. I'm a little lower than you. I'm 24-21.
And I'm 27-24. But again, sometimes you hedge. I didn't want to come in and pick Iowa State 31-10. But I think Iowa State has a chance to like clearly be the better team here. So I hedged it a little bit, but I'm very enthused about the opportunity for Matt Campbell, who is 11 years older than Kenny Dillingham. And so it's his turn. It's his turn. Kenny Dillingham can win a Big 12 title when he's just a little bit older. This will be a good experience for Arizona State to look back on and say, hey, man, we made the Big 12 championship like early in Kenny's tenure, and that really set us up. But this is not a get over the top spot. This is a get over the top spot. Because when is Iowa State going to have Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel again? Are you kidding me?
Right.
This is it. Do this. Go do this, Iowa State. They're going to do it. I'm not yelling I'm yelling with them. They're going to do it. My God, they better do it. No, they're going to do it. Woo! Congratulations. I mean, not yet. We'll have 7 North teams because we have 5 locked in the playoff. The 4 Big Ten teams in Notre Dame. And then if Boise State and Iowa State win, we got 7 out of 12 from the North in the playoff. Come on.
Love that.
The Big 12 has been dominated by Northern teams all year. Utah was picked to win it in the preseason. Then BYU did what they did. Kansas State was in the mix. Then here came Colorado. Iowa State was there the whole year. We can't let Arizona State win this thing. Come on.
No. Can't stand for it. Matt Campbell, rise up for the North.
Matt Campbell, rise up. You can't get more North than Matt Campbell. Well,
he is the Northern. Yeah. Yeah.
But they maybe the top 2. They're the northiest Northerners you could find.
Yeah. I think that's probably true.
Okay. All right. Iowa State's going to win, and we will be excited about that. So just as a reminder to everybody, we'll be back so we'll have the post-game show on Saturday night. We'll have another show Thursday where we're going to preview the Big Ten game and the MAC game and the Mountain West game. But Saturday night, we'll have the post-game show as usual at 11 p.m. Eastern. But then we will also come back Sunday as soon as the playoff bracket is announced. And we will start breaking that down. So we'll be live Sunday. So you can just watch it be revealed. But then, I don't know, do you want to watch those people talk or do you want to hang out with us? And if the answer is you want to watch those people talk, then scram. Get out. No, I'm just kidding. But that's fine. But we're going to give you, if you're one of our folks here, if you're a Northern college football person, we'd invite you to come join us on Sunday pretty much as soon as those teams come out. Okay. That's it for our breakdowns. When we come back, a little bit more stuff to wrap up next on Kings of the North. Back on Kings of the North. No, we're not trying to trick you there. Landis was in 2 places at once. Ryan Day, like many coaches are having on this signing day, had a noon Eastern news conference to talk about signing day stuff, and Bill Landis was there. And a lot of the Ohio State reporters, I think led by Landis, were pressing Ryan Day on the status of the program, his status as the Ohio State head coach. So we pre-recorded that stuff this morning. I'm wearing the same quarter zip, right? What am I trying to do? I do sometimes try to trick you with the quarter zip. If I'm pre-recording something the day before, because I am picking out my wardrobe weeks in advance. So if it's like, I know I'm going to wear this Wednesday, but I'm doing an interview on Tuesday that's going to air on Wednesday, I'll trick you with the quarter zip. I'll let you in on that secret. But Landis was live at Ryan Day. We recorded that this morning. So thanks to Bill Landis, man with 2 jobs. We're going to get to what you're watching, what you eating, what you're thinking. Producer Mike's going to join me for that. But we do want to run through some things that are happening here on signing day because there's some stuff popping, including Oregon taking the lead for the best recruiting class by average star rating per player. And how did they do that? Well, they flipped a 5-star and a borderline 5-star today. One is Naeem Offord, who is a defensive back from the state of Alabama, who's been committed to Ohio State forever. It was sort of like Ohio State. I'm not sure if I felt great about it, but it felt like Auburn was the one that was truly trying to get him, and Oregon swooped in, and he just announced that flip today. By the 24/7 Sports composite rating, he's the number 11 player in the country at corner. This is a huge flip for Oregon, but it's not the only one. They also flipped the borderline 5-star quarterback from Cal today. Jaron Sagapolu. I was working on it. Sagapolu-Telly, I apologize for my lack of pronunciation, flipped him from Cal. So like 3 or 4 5-stars in the Oregon class now, again, by star rating. We sort of talked about it on Tuesday in our preview stuff. Like their class wasn't quite as big, but they're doing their thing. So this is one of those, again, Ohio State, that's a huge loss of Naeem Offord. From the North, we'd rather he flip. We kept them North. That's an Alabama defensive back that flipped from Ohio State to Oregon. So that's a huge win for the North. It's a huge loss for Ohio State. It's a huge win for Oregon. Oregon getting it done on signing day. Another huge one. We talked about this one on Tuesday. Madden Faremo, who's a California linebacker. We had said how the top 8 players in the state of California, I believe it was 5 committed to the SEC, 2 to USC, and the last one was down to USC or Notre Dame. By the recruiting reports, it felt like maybe the momentum was in USC's favor. He just committed to Notre Dame today. So Madden Faremo, top 100 national player. That's a huge win for Notre Dame, pulling a Southern California kid for the North. A couple other really good flips for the North today. 2 receivers from Oklahoma flipped. One, Marcus Harris, flipped to Washington, and another, Cortez Mills, flipped to Nebraska. Good wins by those schools against some instability with the Oklahoma offensive situation after they fired their offensive coordinator in the middle of the year. Kansas State, we had talked about tight end Lincoln Cure, a top 100 national player from the state of Kansas. Oregon was trying to flip him. He signed with Kansas State. Kansas State keeps him home. That's a huge win for them. Jerome Miles, best player in the state of Utah. Texas A&M did get him. Texas A&M did get him. Not a surprise. Jace Clarizio, a running back from East Lansing, had been committed to Michigan State, had flipped to Alabama, flipped back on signing day today and signed with Michigan State. So again, good news, keeping a northern running back home there. And Ohio State did get finished off a flip today. Turbo Rogers, a running back who had been committed to Alabama, is now an Ohio State Buckeye. So some in, some out for Ohio State. Offord's a tough one. Offord is a tough one. A couple other transfer portal things that are happening. Because again, why spread things out when you can do everything all at the same time? Cade McNamara, former Michigan quarterback who'd been at Iowa the past couple of years, officially announced his transfer. He'll have a 7th year next year. Landis suggested we do this show next week, and I think we will. The quarterback situations for all the teams in the North and who should go in the portal. Anytime a quarterback goes in the portal, it should be of interest to Northern teams because maybe you can go get this guy. 2 interesting names right now on different levels. Connor Harrell, who started some games at North Carolina, is in the portal, but Connor Wegman. 2 Connors. Connor Wegman from Texas A&M. Marcel Reed, I guess, had kind of taken his job. That's a former big-time recruit. Injury issues there. But this is one of these things, like you say, Hudson Card went from Texas to Purdue. Luke Altmaier went from the SEC to Illinois. Cam Rising went from Texas to Utah. Will Rogers went from Mississippi State to Washington. There's an opportunity. This is another place. Tyler Van Dyke went from Miami to Wisconsin. Like this is where Northern teams should jump on these opportunities. So we didn't care about Connor Wegman before, but there are multiple Northern teams that should be in there, jumping in there. You know, I don't know anything about anything. Syracuse should jump in there. Great year out of Kyle McCord. You show Connor Wegman what that offense can be. Elijah Robinson, the defensive coordinator at Syracuse, used to coach at Texas A&M. Let's call that now. This is just me making it up on the fly. Connor Wegman to Syracuse. Let's make that happen. What an opportunity that would be. A couple other transfer things. Tretch Kekahuna, nice receiver at Wisconsin. He's in the portal. And a really nice safety from Northwestern, Devin Turner, in the portal. Kind of a tough blow for Northwestern there. So there's all this stuff popping. Producer Mike, am I missing anything from the portal or the recruiting world? Anything else that super popped in the last hour that I didn't hit on?
I don't think so. I think you hit everything.
Okay. All
doing
right.
one last gaze through here, but no, I think.
Okay. Nothing else major that like so Offord was such a big deal. That happened in the last 5 or 10 minutes. I do want to talk about this real quickly before we bring in producer Mike and do Whatcha. At the Ryan Day News Conference, he basically admitted some things. He said, like, I'm not looking to leave. I'm here for the long haul. I think I'm the right guy for the job. I think the Ohio State culture is strong. But I do think it's always frustrating for fans when guys like us, me and Landis, or anybody else you watch or listen to, says like, man, why did this team do this in a game plan? And then you don't want them to blow smoke. But when they're like, yeah, no, I agree. Ohio State ran up the middle and didn't try to run to the edge enough against Michigan. And Ryan Day agreed. And also Ryan Day said that they wanted to do some more up-tempo stuff against Michigan, and they got bogged down and didn't do it. So you or I or a lot of Northern fans could have said, man, why didn't they run outside more? Why do they keep running into Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham and the interior of that Michigan defensive line? And why didn't they go tempo? And now, in retrospect, Ryan Day looking back says, yeah, no, I agree. It's like, well, would have been great to realize that in the moment, because if Ohio State could have worked its matchups. And again, he said, I at times am like, chuck it, chuck it, chuck it, chuck it. Making Ohio State offense more like the Washington offense. I get it. They're not actually going to do that. So he said, we're not going to throw it 60 times a game. But he did admit in a game like that, they have to find even more ways to let their best players at receiver win them the game. So as much as they did throw it more than usual, I think they should have thrown it even more. And he kind of agreed with that. So there was plenty to criticize. And it's just like the critiques and the criticisms are right. What we thought we saw, he saw too. Just saw it too late. They have a chance to win the national championship. I think there are, I think this is wide open enough. It's a tough haul for Indiana. Just from a depth and pure talent standpoint, I don't know that I think Indiana has a realistic chance to win the national title. I think everybody in the North has a shot. I think Oregon is the favorite. Oregon must be the favorite. I haven't worked out who I'm going to pick. Oregon must be the favorite. I think Penn State absolutely has a shot. When you can have some people who get after the quarterback like Abdul Carter and Deni Dennis Sutton, when you have corners you believe in, great safety play, we know how good their defense can be. Drew Aller has grown into the role. Good running backs. Ty Warren is a matchup nightmare. The offensive line is good enough. The one thing is they're not explosive on the outside, but I think with their creativity and the way they throw the ball to the tight end and the running backs, they make up for that as well as you possibly can. I think Penn State can win it. I think Notre Dame can win it. I think Notre Dame might have the best baseline. They have the worst loss, but what they've been now, I think they can let other people screw up and do what they do. I think they have a chance they could win it all. Ohio State has a talent. If Ohio State plays its best game, which it did not do against Michigan, Ohio State could win it all. If they play their best, they can win it all. And again, if Iowa State gets in, we just did this. If Iowa State gets in, take your shot. Because I think there is a peak for Iowa State that we haven't seen yet. Opportunities abound, including for Ohio State. All right. Producer Mike. Here's the question, Producer Mike. The question as we get into Whatcha are, do you watch things, do you eat things, and do you think things? So if you do all those things, I assume that you watch, eat, and think, then you are qualified to join us on Whatcha.
Yeah, I do all three of those things. I think that is three things that you have to do in daily life. I think you'd you'd be non-existent if you didn't do those three things. So yes, I do. Yeah. I don't watch it. All right. So what have you been? And just as a reminder to people, I'm old. Bill is in the middle, and you're young. How old are you? I'm 27.
So this is for the youth. We're making a play. We're throwing out the fishing line. What does a 27-year-old watch, eat, and think about? We've never done that on this show before. We've done what, a 50-year-old person, what a guy in his mid-30s thinks and eats. Now we're going to find out, Mike, what you eat. But Mike, first, what have you been watching besides this show every day, which you are forced to watch and paid to watch?
I think what I've been watching is Yellowstone.
Oh,
you watch
which is
Yellowstone.
just what 20-year-olds love. That's exactly the demographic they're looking for.
Absolutely.
Old guys on cowboys on horses.
Yes.
In the 1800s, they're like, let's get the 27-year-olds.
Well, the Yellowstone is set modern day. The other show, which I think is 1823, which is literally titled in the 1800s. But no, I've been watching Yellowstone. The second part of the final season just came out a couple weeks ago. I won't give any spoilers for anyone out there that might be watching or has not watched yet. But incredible show. Just awesome stuff. I mean, I watched it. Honestly, I never even watched it when it was coming out, like the past couple of years. I just binged it like the last 6 months. And boy, it's intense. It's intense stuff, and it's really good. It's really good stuff.
Not a light, fluffy watch. Like you got to lock in. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, there's layers to it. I mean, it's in depth. There's layers to it, but I mean, it keeps you on your toes for sure.
Okay. I got to decide because I got to be in the right frame of mind. I would imagine though, like after watching me scream for 90 minutes, you might be ready to go lock in and do something else and not think about football for a while. So that's probably a good call by you.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone needs a break, in their life,
Huh.
from the sports world, especially when you work in this business like we do. It's funny too. Like I working games and stuff too. My wife will be like, "Oh, you want to go to the game, this weekend?" And it's like, if I'm not working, it's like, you know what?
Like,
I really don't.
yeah,
I really don't
yeah,
want to go to the ballpark, or I really don't want to go to the
uh,
arena and watch a game
yeah.
that I'm not working. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ride a horse with Kevin
Right.
Costner.
Yeah. I want to go out to Montana
Yeah.
and see the big sky
All right.
country.
That might be an off-season thing for me. That might be an
Yeah.
off-season
I
thing.
think you'd
Okay.
enjoy it. I do.
Because my watching is light and fluffier. I think I've talked about this show before, but the thing is, it's I don't think I've talked about it in the last 2 weeks, have I? It's on Netflix again now. AP Bio. I haven't talked about that in the last month, have I? Okay.
I don't
I
think
make
so.
Mike, you are my memory bank. So the thing
Yeah.
about AP Bio, it's one of the guys from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but it's based in Toledo, Ohio. And it's one of those things where, so it's a northern show. It's a Midwestern northern show. And it's one of those shows where the idea is this guy comes to Toledo and he feels like he's stuck in Toledo and he wants to get out of Toledo. And then it's like, but don't you grow to love Toledo? So it's like one of those things, like sometimes I think like, man, they're really making fun of Toledo here. And like they had a scene the other night where they went to a fancy restaurant and I looked it up and it's like, it was a real restaurant in Toledo. But it's lovely and light. And it's in a high school in Toledo, Ohio. And the problems on that show are like, I need a hall pass for third period stuff. It is just like there are no stakes, but it is very enjoyable. I find it to be very funny. One of my friends is actually on the show, which always like makes it interesting. But I'm always looking, Mike, for like just gentle comedy. And you cannot get more gentle than an 11th grade science class in Toledo, Ohio. So if you just need 22 minutes to smile and turn your
Yeah.
brain off, this is for you.
See, I think I have a problem with that where I don't give shows like that a chance. Like if I'm looking for the
Oh,
light, fluffy comedy, I go back to The Office. I watch The
yeah.
Office, 100 times. Like it's things like that. Like I just stick to what I know because I
Yeah.
know I'm looking for light, fluffy comedy that like I'll get it there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's maybe one thing that I don't do a good enough job of is like trying new things. Like, oh, there's
Yes.
this, like for example, there's a show on Netflix called Tires.
Oh, yeah. With
And
Shane Gillis,
yeah,
right?
Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
My one buddy like loves it, and I watched like the first 2 episodes, and I was like, you know what, I really didn't find it funny.
I just want
And
Michael Scott. You just want Michael
yeah,
Scott.
right, yeah, exactly. Like I know I've seen every episode 10 times, but I'm still gonna laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that could be very hard because you have your favorites, but I would recommend this. It's very quirky. I
okay,
find
yeah,
I find it very funny. All right.
yeah.
What are you eating, Mike?
I was going to talk about like, so I live in Cleveland. Doug's obviously in Columbus. I was going to talk about some local joints, that we have here, but I really wasn't, there's our audience is so broad in Nashville.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking, I'm a big lunch meat guy, like cold cut
Ooh,
sandwich guy for
yeah.
lunch. There ain't nothing better in the cold cut department than Boar's Head, the brand
Oh,
Boar's Head. Have you had Boar's Head
so
lunch
listen,
meat?
I am totally not a cold
Wow.
cuts guy at all. So
Wow.
I have no appreciation for this, but you think Boar's Head is literally a cut above. Is it a little more expensive? Is it worth it?
Yes, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, and to be honest, I know our agenda here. It started in the South. We used to always get it when we went to visit when we would go to Hilton Head for vacation every year. The
Oh,
grocery stores in Hilton Head would always have it, and it would be the only place you could find it. And then it started making its way up north here and stuff. So now it's in local groceries around me here. And boy, I jump at the opportunity. Just honestly, after this for lunch, I'll have a turkey
nice.
pepperoni sandwich from Boar's Head. It's incredible stuff. I mean, really, you pay a little bit more, but man, it's worth it for me.
It is one of the things that one of the areas of American life where I just don't participate is the lunch meat world.
Yeah,
It's just never been my thing. I eat like a peanut butter sandwich like I'm a second grader for lunch about 4 times a week.
yeah. I
Just
mean,
peanut butter on bread.
Uncrustable guy.
I want to control my peanut butter ratio. I don't want to
Okay.
let corporate America control my peanut butter ratio. So I prefer to do it myself. But Sometimes simple is better. But I'm also a baby. I'm also like a tiny baby.
I am
I should
very
eat
much
meat.
the same way. I mean, I'm very bland, picky eater. My wife says it every day how I am the most picky eater that she's ever met, which I don't disagree with. I know I am.
Someday
I mean,
we'll
I know
grow
I
up.
said it before. I eat Chipotle like 3 times a week because I'm just like, it's good. I know what I get.
Yeah.
I'm in. So you don't gotta. I'll just stick to what I know.
I think I've mentioned a couple times. My daughter's almost home, but she's been studying abroad in Paris this year. And she's eating Chipotle 3 times a week over there, like in the culinary capital of the world. It's like there's a Chipotle near where she takes her classes, and sometimes that's just what she wants. So sometimes
how's the French Chipotle? Did she say it's the same?
I mean, it's not like they don't. They didn't like French it up or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't even know how you French something up, but it's just it's what she wants. So food should make you happy.
Yeah.
I am a chain restaurant guy, as everybody knows. And I tried a chain restaurant when I was in Iowa City for the Nebraska-Iowa game on Friday that I had never gone to before. It's called Pancheros. And as I now have learned, looking on their website, they are all over the North, just not in Ohio. They're in Michigan and Minnesota and Iowa and Illinois and Connecticut and New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and South Dakota. And I just want to give a shout out because they're very much like any other Chipotle, Moe's, Qdoba, right? Kind of thing, but their thing is they make their tortillas fresh. So it's like they have it's almost like at a pizza place. They have like a ball of dough and then they have a tortilla press and they give it. It's like I ordered a quesadilla. So they get the ball of dough, they do the tortilla press. And I'm like, okay, enough with the showing off with the tortillas. I get it. It's fresh. And then I ate the quesadilla and I thought this tortilla is quite fresh. And actually, I'm totally in. It's not just for show. It really was good. And so now I want Pancheros more in my life near me because that's a separator, Mike. And when you're in a crowded, fast casual Mexican food marketplace, the tortilla press, quite a differentiator. So I would imagine there's a bunch of people watching this they're like, Pancheros, of course. New to me. Thumbs
Never
up.
heard of it. I've never heard of it.
The press makes me want to get a tortilla press in my house. Do that. So
yeah, I've never even. I don't even know what is a tortilla press? Like it just the machines they have at Chipotle.
Yeah,
like they already have the tortillas and they just heat it up.
It's like I mean like it's gigantic because it's like I have no answer to that. Wow. It's just a smusher. It's a giant smusher with a handle. Yeah, and it makes the tortilla. It looks like this, and then it looks like this.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Pancheros,
I want to let me bring up one more thing for eating. I know last week you were talking about your Thanksgiving side, and I wasn't a part of that. But I have to say, and this is nothing against you, I am all out on corn. I think corn is my least disliked food ever.
Like across the board. Corn on the cob, fresh corn, dried corn. Really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Because like one of the things that's funny at the Iowa-Nebraska game, both sides, the Iowa fans wear t-shirts that say Nebraska has bad corn, and the Nebraska fans wear t-shirts that say Iowa has bad corn. And you could just wear a t-shirt that says corn is bad.
Yeah, right. Boy, I would not. I wouldn't fit in there.
You might be the first person like corn. The corn has a pretty high positivity index. There's not a lot of people.
Like
coming
I said,
out
I'm weird.
Corn.
I'm weird when it comes to food.
Okay.
Other bananas are kind of the same way. I can't do bananas. Can't do it.
Wow. Oh, I eat a banana every day. Okay.
Yeah.
I respect it. I do think that it's not. Life is too short to make people feel bad for the things they don't eat. It's like that's why God made a million different things. Can you imagine if there were 4 things? It's like every tree had the same thing hanging on it, and whenever you dug something out of the ground to eat it, it was the same thing.
Yeah,
it's like they're all potatoes. They're all potatoes.
So boring.
So
yeah,
the big guy took care of us, so we can think about it differently. All right,
absolutely.
What are you thinking about?
All right, so I've been thinking about this for years. I mean, years, and it's going to take a little bit. I think we're at the point where I've wanted to develop a new role in football.
Ooh.
Okay, so I'm going to paint you a picture. All right, so we'll go back to the Ohio State-Michigan game. So Ohio State has the ball on their own 7-yard line.
Yep.
Okay, it's 1st and 10 on their own 7. Play happens. There's a holding penalty on Ohio State. So since they're on the 7, the penalty is half the distance to the goal. So normally, if they're anywhere outside of their own 20, it becomes 1st and 20. It's a 10-yard penalty. But when you're inside there, when it's 1st and 10 from your own 7, you get a holding penalty. It's half the distance. Now it becomes 1st and 13 and a half, essentially.
Okay.
Why is there not a rule that instead of moving the offense back, you take the first down marker? So you had 1st and 10 at your 7. The first down marker is at the 17. Why not take the first down marker and move it to the 27? So now it's 1st and 20. Just like a normal penalty that you would have if you were at the 50-yard line, if you would have at the 40-yard line. I understand. I've said this for years. My dad and my brother have always said it's a smart idea, but everybody wants points and offense. But I just don't understand it. Like, am I the only person that's ever thought of that?
I never thought of it. That's a great idea because you could still move them back, right? So if you're on the 7, you can still go back to the 3, but the bottom line is it's going to be 1st and 20. Whatever it takes to make it 1st and 20, we'll make it that.
Well, you don't even got to move. You don't even got to move it from the 7. You keep them on the 7. You just take that first down marker. And
I do like field position matters. So I think you still want to penalize people. You move them back. Now you're closer to the end zone. Now a safety comes more into play. But if the goal is to make it 1st and 20 regardless, I think there's a way you can middle that up. We move it, but then we also, why are we beholden? We understand you can't expand the field, but why are we beholden to the end, to the second first down stick? That's a great idea. And if we're in a world where like Major League Baseball is all of a sudden going to let like random people hit whenever they want, you can absolutely adopt this because it doesn't fundamentally change anything.
No,
it's one tweak.
It's the same rule as they would apply.
It's the same rule. Because there's nothing about like, well, we got the ball at the 7-yard line. The first down has to be at the 17, or we lose the integrity of the game. It's like, no, you wouldn't. It's just a first down. So I actually,
because if you get a penalty, you're at your own 7, you get a penalty. You're like, okay, we lost 3 yards. Yeah, no, but it's less yards than if you got a false start or something.
Yeah. Oh, I really like this. Because again, if you just said, well, we're going to move them back to the 1 no matter what, right? Now that's like, okay, you get 1 penalty, you're obviously going to get a safety. But this is, there is an option. Because otherwise you would think, oh, there's no option. What are we supposed to do? It's like, Mike just gave you an option.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't know. So maybe next year in Indy or, wherever we are for media days, or even this year, we're at the playoff, we see,
those ref guys are always floating around. Yeah. And the Big 10 can start it, or the Big 12 can start it, and the SEC will fall in line. They wouldn't be able to think of something down there like this. So this is worth pitching. So my thing was, my tease was this.
I was very interested. Yeah.
And the tease is, it's not that I'm getting a divorce, it's that I lost my wedding ring.
Oh.
Which I've never done before. So I've been married for a super long time. It's always, I say, it's not that I can't remember what year I got married. I've been married for 29 years. So, and this is my original wedding ring. And I was driving back from Iowa. I stopped at Chili's halfway to do some work and then finished my drive. And I was like driving, and I suddenly realized I didn't have my wedding ring on. And it was like, where is it? And it's gone. And so I called my wife immediately, but it's one of those things that I notice far more in its absence than you do when it's on. I can totally feel my wedding ring not being on. And so I'll get a new one, but it sucks. And it's really weird. And I'm certainly not the first person to do it, but it almost like makes me want to have a show about losing your wedding ring. And it's like, to be honest, I could be honest here, right? So like I'm a type 2 diabetic. I think people know that, or maybe you don't care, but I do take Ozempic as one of the medications for my type 2 diabetes. And that is the miracle weight loss drug. And I think it has made me lose some weight. And I think it made my fingers skinnier. So Ozempic lost my wedding ring. So I'm going to call Oprah and say that it's her fault for this. So
did you call the Chili's?
Actually, I didn't. I should try that. I guess it could be there. Like if they found a wedding ring at the Peoria, Illinois Chili's.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you should call the Chili's. Like
maybe I ate it. Fell in my chips. So anyway, it was just like very distressing. But also it's like, man, I made it 29 years. I mean, people look at me. I'm like the kind of guy who would feel like he'd lose his wedding ring twice a year.
Yeah.
So I'm on my 57th wedding ring. So I'm not. So, but I'm still mad. Feels weird.
I mean, as a guy that is 6 months married, we'll put it in the camera here. I worry about it all the time. I worry about it all the time. And it actually happened to me. So in October, my brother plays in a kickball league. And he's like, hey, we need someone to, fill in on the kickball game that he's like, you want to play? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go play. So I'm out there, I'm in the infield, and I'm playing, a ball gets kicked in the air, and I'm running over to like get it and throw it. And my wedding ring fell off my hand like as I was running.
Ooh.
And I like felt it, but I didn't really like think what it was.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't put in my mind like, oh, but that was my wedding ring. And then like a couple minutes later, we go back and we're on offense now. And, I'm standing, over in the dugout area, and I look at my hand. I'm like, I don't have my wedding ring. I'm like, where's my wedding ring at? And literally like we had to like stop the game because I'm like, hold on. And so I went and like looked in the dirt where I was playing because I was looking for it, and obviously I found it, but I was like, I was afraid to go home if I lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're in year one.
Yeah, 6 months in.
Man. Come on, man. So I feel like my wife didn't yell at me. She was very nice about it, but I feel bad. So anyway, just so you know, ladies, I'm not on the market.
Yes,
I know that's what everybody was thinking. They were lining up. My wife's going to laugh at that one. Okay. Well, it's good to have thoughts from producer Mike on the show. Mike, we always think you do a great job, and it's nice for the folks to get to see you.
Thank you.
So you can wave to the folks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Huge part of what we do here at Kings of the North. We'll be back on Thursday with our Big Ten preview, Oregon, Penn State, MAC preview, Mountain West preview, a couple other things that we'll touch on. And we just appreciate you guys being here. So then Saturday night and then Sunday, as soon as the bracket comes out, things popping on Kings of the North. Thanks to Bill Landis, Mr. Two Jobs, two places at once. And thanks as always to producer Mike. For now, I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was Kings of the North.